I've put this off long enough. So right now I am surrounded by sketchbooks. When I did the every watercolor palette I have and I went through them all, a lot of you said, I'd like to see the sketchbook one. I said, maybe I'll do that. A lot of you said, yes, please do that. I'm going to go through every sketchbook that I own one at a time, tell you the things I like about it, tell you the things that I don't like about it. I'm going way back here, so there's a lot to get to. We're got to get going with this thing. So let me know, what are your favorite sketchbooks? What do you like to use? What are the things on your shelf? What are your favorite books to use and how do you use them? I would love to hear that. I would love to hear what your favorite books are. That's something that I always will look into because sketchbooks are my favorite thing. I love them. I love paper. I love sketchbooks. That's what I enjoy. So I want to see what you use so that maybe I can say, hey, maybe that's something I can use in the future. I'll look into it. I definitely will. I have one that I'm hoping to get this year. I really want it. It's a Leather Village. I might pop it up on the screen here. I'll pop it up over here somewhere. It's the Leather Village book. I have this on a list. So if someone doesn't know what to get me, they can get me this on the list. It's like 20 bucks. Not expensive, especially with Black Friday sales and stuff like that. It's fine. This is what I'm asking people to get me in not you. I'm not asking you. I'm asking other people, not you. But that's what I want. And if nobody gets it for me, I'm buying it immediately after Christmas because I want to get this book. I enjoy that the Leather Village paper so much. It has that old look, that old leather top, and then you open it up and it's got the old paper that looks like papyri almost, and it's just, I love it. It's wonderful, and I love creating on it. I have those pages up there. I still create on them all the time. I just don't always do it on camera. It's a specialized kind of paper, so you have to do a specialized kind of drawing or painting on them. Oh wait, before we get into it, I just wanted to mention, Eugen is a member of this community. And he has a YouTube channel. I almost said a Facebook channel. That's not a thing. Or it could be, but it wouldn't be. Anyway, he has a YouTube channel where if you ever wanted to know anything about fountain pens and drawing with fountain pens, which I do. When I look at other groups, other channels, and I look for the fountain pen stuff, they tell me all the information that I'm not looking for. They say all the stuff, and then they don't use it the way that I want to see it used, or I want to know, can it be used that way? Eugen, he does that over there. He goes through a couple of specs, a couple little things, and he's just changing the format here recently, but he talks about the pen a little bit and some things about it, some little quirks or something like that, or how you have to use something, and then he draws a whole drawing with it, and he uses that Leather Village paper recently, and I love that paper. So when he draws that stuff on that paper, it's that much better. Anyway, an amazing artist. Absolutely love to watch his work. If you enjoy drawings, if that's what you enjoy, go over to Eugen's channel. He does mostly ink drawings. Sometimes he has a little colored pencil to it. Sometimes a little different colored inks to it. But always different colored inks. But sometimes multiple inks in the same piece. Always wonderful to watch his work. And he is almost at the 1,000 mark. He needs a few more subscribers. He can get there. We can get him there by the end of this year. And I'm going to put his link down below. I appreciate him. He is a big supporter of this channel. He always talks to me, always gives me information, always feedback back to me. I appreciate him very much. So please, let's all go to Eugen's and have a party. He would love to have everybody show up at his door. I know he would. He told me the other day he's ready to pop the cork on something. So go ahead over there and take a look at his channel, and now we will get into this. All right, we're going to start out with a couple of twins right here. They're not twins. This one was kept locked up in a closet. This one was given an extra piece of ham at dinner. You can tell the difference. They're a little bit, this one's a little bit more beat up. This one is not. But I've used this to its fullest extent, and I put swatches in here. Just any kind of swatch that I can think of, and it's wonderful. It reflects. The reason that I like this is because most of the mediums I use are translucent mediums. So the light passes through them, hits the white of the page, and then reflects back through the color that's on top. And this reflects bright white. All the colors that come off on here are extremely bright colors. So absolutely love them. And the other thing about let me show you this here. Let me see if I can find the... Okay, so you can see here, this was some Derwent Graphitin. Many layers. We'll put a layer on, not in the background here, that was only maybe 1 or 2 layers, but in this circle here, this sphere here, many layers, and then I'd water it, and then I'd put more layers on, and then I'd water it out and put more layers on. It's just, it doesn't give way. This is same thing, Derwent Intense, many layers, and you can see, because it's a little bit rougher, it's not as smooth, so some of the grain on here shows through when you put the pencil down on it, and then it doesn't dissolve all the way because it gets stuck in the nooks and crannies of the paper. I don't mind that when I do this kind of stuff, but I wouldn't do it on a finished piece, but something when I'm just sketching like this, it doesn't matter to me. Anyway, multiple layers of that, and just keep watering it out and putting more on and watering it out, and it's smooth. There's no pilling. It didn't destroy the paper. I hear people all the time tell me that they've destroyed this paper. I don't know what you're doing, but if you're destroying this paper, you're doing something wrong. I have no idea what it is. This is colored pencil, Faber-Castell, and I put so many layers, and then put the alcohol, the odorless mineral spirits rather, to dilute it out and blend it out, and put more layers and blend it out, more layers, blend it out. It doesn't give way. It's fine. There's smooth. There's nothing there that I can see that anyone would have a problem with that. I have no idea what you're doing if that's what you're doing. But anyway, there was just a couple of drawings I do in here. Most of the time this is just swatching out. And then I started this on the same thing. I started swatching out here as well, and just going through. But also what I'm going to use this book for, let me get to it here, is thumbnails. So these thumbnails here, you can see, and they were a little bit blurry there for a second. I don't know what that is about. Anyway, some of these thumbnails here, they're great. They work wonderfully. I love using books like this. This is something I could just throw this page out. I don't care. These are so cheap. So I think I paid $8 a piece for these because I get them on sale. But you can, and you see they're a little bit different in design, but it's the same book. You can usually find these under $10, but even if you pay $15 for it or $12 for it, it's a huge page. It's a huge book. It's 98-pound paper. You get 60 sheets, so you can just go to town on this. Do whatever you want. Use it for throwaway paper. Use it for scrap. Use it for whatever you want. Thumbnails. Like I said, I like to use it for doing some kind of swatching, and that's what I use. Most of this book here, I have a bunch of pages here that are clipped together. This is all pastel stuff under here. I didn't want it to get everywhere, but and I did another one here, I believe. Yes, more there. But anyway, it just reflects the color so well. I absolutely love it. So I always have some of these on the shelf. And this is this one's used up, but I still refer to it all the time. And then this one I've just barely scratched the surface of, so I'll have a lot more to work with. Okay, so this is the Big Brother. This is the 9x12 book version of them. And I've used very little of these pages here. Just did a couple sketches in them. And meant to start doing this, the thumbnail sketch. But what I want to use this for is, I was recently talking to someone over in the comments of a video, and they said that when they get these big sheets of paper, these big sketchbooks, it's very intimidating to try and fill this whole page. I completely understand it. That's why I didn't do that in the other pages. But here's what I would say. I just use it for practice, for drawing, that kind of thing. But what I would suggested was, you do your little pieces. Do a little piece here, do a little piece here, a little piece here, and then find a way to connect them, make them cohesive in one composition that makes it look like it belongs together. Kind of like what I was trying to do with that other video where I did that. You'll see that book coming up here in a minute. But anyway, it's just something I want to try and do. So I want to try and do that in this book myself. I want to just do some little, even if I just do the thumbnails in this book and then try and connect them in a certain way and then put that into a regular piece, a regular book, I mean, somewhere else down the line. In the same vein, I always recommend you have a throwaway book. So if you don't like those, I highly recommend those Canson XL books. They work wonderfully. I've never had any trouble with them. But anyway, this is just 68-pound regular drawing paper. it's good to have, this was given to me as a gift. I haven't even unwrapped it yet because I have those other ones that I use. But this will only be used for thumbnails. That's the only thing I'll put in this book. I'll put a thumbnail here, whatever, maybe 3 or 4 across, whatever, and use this as a throwaway book, because if I have an idea and I don't know if it's going to look right in the composition, I can sit here and draw out the page and then figure out, if I do this, is that going to work? And that's how I'm going to use this book. So I always recommend you have something like this laying around. This was an inexpensive book. It was given to me. I will definitely be able to use it, and I'll use all the pages in here, but it'll just be used in that way. All right, now let's start with, I'm going to start with a couple of books that I have not even used yet. I haven't even started with them really. Let's start with Strathmore. I have the tone gray here. I just took a, this is just a board that I used from, like a back piece of cardboard from another book. So I just cut it up, and here it is. So like when you get the watercolor pads, you have that cardboard in the back. Well, I make my own sketchbooks. So I had put the binding in here. It's a metal binding. It's a comb binding. It attaches in the back here. So, well, I didn't do this one right, apparently. No, I did not. Where does this? Oh, I have it on the outside. You're supposed to do it inside the cover. Anyway, I didn't do this one right. But you can see these combs here that kind of sit together, and you crimp them together after you put all the holes in here. I use the Zutter Bind It All, by the way. That's how I make all these. But anyway, there's something I really don't like about this book. Let me show it to you. Can you see all the little fibers that are in here? All the brown fibers that are everywhere in this book? I absolutely hate that. I love that it's gray, but those brown fibers in here make it look like a very warm gray, and I do not like that at all. I really don't like that. It bothers me so much that I don't use the book. But I did put this together. I will use it eventually. I'm going to put gouache in it most likely. That way I can cover the book and not look at it anymore. But that's, I like gray books, just not like this. But I did make this at a time when this was my only option. And this paper is thick. That is some thick paper right there. So in the same vein, this book right here is just like that, only this has the blue and the gray. The only thing I did was test out, this is where I tested out the warmer color pencil in here, but the only thing I really tested out was I did this one video a long time ago, and then that was it. I just never did anything else in here. So yeah, this is a long time ago video. I don't remember what I was doing here. I think I was doing, I was showing you how to take photos and turn them into abstract pieces of art, and I put some things here and then did something abstract to make it look, but this is not what these things were. I think one might have been like a caterpillar, and I don't know what they were. Anyway, that's all. This is from 22, so it's just a couple of years ago, but I don't remember what it was for. But I don't use this book for that reason. I just do not like those brown fibers. It makes it look ugly to me. I don't like it. It's in the blue and the brown. So now, just like those other ones, this is another one. This is the Strathmore Gray, but this doesn't have as many brown fibers in it. I think when they first started doing this, let me see here. I think I put it in the back. Yeah, so this is one of the first tone gray mixed media books here. This is 184 pound paper. Very thick, very like cardstock kind of stuff here. But I did this. This is the book I did the Inktober, and I just, well, I used some of these. Yeah, I think I flipped through this. I have this in a sketchbook flip through somewhere. But I did an Inktober on this, and the paper works out okay. It's not my favorite. It's definitely, this is, hey, I'm looking at it. It doesn't have as many of those brown fibers as the other paper. I think when they made this sketchbook, when they were doing it, they didn't do that all the way, and then they all of a sudden they started. And that was the end of that. They just said, hey, this is going to be some brown fibers in here, and they did that on purpose. But it's still a warmer gray, and you can see some of the fibers in here. It's just not that as bad. That's my favorite drawing in this whole book. Yeah, I like that one too. But I think that's that's definitely my favorite drawing in the whole book. I love that I did that. It's some kind of weird ship, but like it's not a ship. I don't know. It's something weird, but I enjoyed that. Now, I do enjoy these gray books because I like putting the white contrast in there. That's what I like to do the most with these books. So I always have a little bit of white in there. and it just adds some contrast, and I absolutely love doing that. But I won't do it if it's going to be like that. Now let's stick with some Strathmore. I have a couple more twins here that aren't twins even a little bit. So this one is the visual journal. This is the watercolor 90-pound book, and this is the visual journal Bristol Vellum. Now I had another one. I had another watercolor book. It was the 140-pound watercolor book. That got ruined. Let me tell you the story. So, and I'll show you those paintings. You know what? I'll tell you the story when I get to those paintings, when I get to those drawings. I mean, whatever it is, I'll tell you that then. So, this one, it was the 90-pound watercolor paper was nice. It was 2015. This is a long time ago that I got this one here. This is one of my first colored pencil pieces after coming back to art in 2015. And I just started doing a lot of colored pencil things and some watercolor, some things. But, and this is like my comic phase. So I have a lot of, oh, that's not comics at all. But I have a lot of comic book type things that I started drawing, a couple of water-soluble pencils. And it was just my character phase. I was going through enjoying drawing comic books for whatever reason. And it's just, anyway, that's the whole book is mostly, that's 2016 now, but the most of this is just filled with me trying to draw comic characters and failing most of the time. That's one of my favorite ones in here. I love this piece here. And then I have another one. Let me see, where is it? Where is it? This one here. I love this one here. I know it's a little bit rough, but I really enjoy that one. So, and then same thing, I just kept going with all the comic book stuff, and I never ended up doing anything with the comic book stuff, but that's this book. This book here is different. This book here, 2019 to 23. It took a long time to finish this one. So, I started doing, I don't know why, but every once in a while you listen to some dumb advice. And one of the dumb advice that I listened to was to do the like time sketches, and I was doing these as like time sketches, like 30, I forgot how long it was. It was either 30 seconds or a minute. I forgot what it was, but these are just time sketches that I did, and I don't like that I did. They were annoying as anything. This one was definitely longer than that, but they were just annoying. I didn't like doing that. So then I started doing some other drawings in here. I like that one. That's the Malharpin. That's one of my inventions right there. It's a very interesting thing. And I did some, oh, this is one of my favorites too. I love this piece here. This is one of the first where I covered the entire page and gave it a little bit of depth to it. I like this one a lot. This is nice. But anyway, those couple, this was a video, I believe. I think I did a video on that, and then I just stopped at the end. I didn't finish the book. Do I like them? Yeah, they were decent for what they were. Most of this was just ink, so when I tried to use any kind of watercolor in it, it would get splotchy, and it's not a watercolor book. If anything, you would do like a single layer of color, a single swipe of color. I wouldn't do any wet and wet washes in this book. It'll just fall apart. And this is a vellum book, so I had no watercolor in here. But it is good for markers. If you like to do markers, you can use marker in here. It'll go through. It'll definitely go through. These are ink, so regular ink type things. And these are the Faber-Castell markers, so they don't go through. But if you have any kind of alcohol ink, it's going to go through. Okay, we are moving right along. Let me keep the theme going with getting rid of the stuff that I have never used. Let me do that. I just wanted to hit all the Strathmore stuff all at once. Okay, now I'm going to say that I haven't used this. I actually have. One time. I used one thing here. This is the only piece in this whole book. I hated the way that this book worked. So this is the handbook journal, the watercolor large landscape travelogue, I think it was, or something. But anyway, it's the handbook journal. 5 1/4 by 8 1/4. People love this book. I absolutely hate it. It was one of the, and this has those weird, and at least this one's not paper where it just tears out. So it has a little plastic sleeve in it. But anyway, I hated the way this paper worked. I did this one piece and I absolutely hated it. And I said, I'm not using this paper anymore. So this has been sitting here waiting maybe my niece or maybe my nephew would want to use it just to scribble in or something like that, because I don't really think it's good for watercolor or anything like that. It just doesn't work for me. Never did. But I hear a lot of people like it, and that's, if you like it, don't worry about it. That's your thing. Okay, now to talk about one that I've never used, I have to first talk about one that I have used. So I have another set of twins here, and these two here are landscape. These are the, let me see what the Pentalic, I think they are. No, not Pentalic. These are the Handbook Field Watercolor Journals. They say made with fluid watercolor paper on them. I love the cotton fluid watercolor paper. Absolutely wonderful. This is not that. This is the regular watercolor paper. And one of the things, let's see, I started this one in 2016 and then went through to 2022. So it took me a long time to finish. It takes me a long time to finish books. It just always has, because I have so many that I'm started. I just keep going with them. So this is one of my first watercolor books that I loved at first. I really did. I loved the way this laid down. There wasn't much. This is a wet into wet wash. There wasn't much happening here that I didn't like. A couple little splotches here, back runs and things, but not real bad. Fairly, it's not smooth because this is regular paper. This is pulp paper. So you don't get as smooth of a gradient and things like that, but it's okay. It was fine. I did a abstract piece here. It didn't fall apart. This is a lot of wet into wet here. This actually is it goes this way. So just in case you were wondering. Anyway, but it was just an abstract landscape piece. It worked fine. The color laid on there fine. It was okay. I did a gouache piece. This was a part of something. It was some kind of class, and I was watching the guy do it, and I just started painting along. And I love how this came out. This is one of my favorite pieces in here. The texture in the tree, absolutely love. Can you see that? Yes, you should be able to see that. Okay, so this is gouache. One of my favorite pieces in this book. And I was able to put, this is pastel ground, and the pastel ground in here. This whole thing is a pastel pencil piece. So held up great. Didn't really spill out off the page. And you can get the pastel ground. It's like sandpaper after it dries. I think it was the Art Fix pastel ground that I put in here, and it worked just fine. And I did a lot of watercolor in here. You can see this was done with the Derwent Graphitint pencils, and because it's rough paper, it doesn't dissolve all the way, just like all the other ones. It's fine. It works out just fine. This was my first falconry lesson was in this book. I will never get rid of this book. My first falconry lesson, it said the day of my first falconry lesson, 9/23/17, 2017. That's when I went. My wife got me that as a surprise present, and I absolutely loved it. And so that's what we did. And this is a part of I went to the Grand Canyon and saw some of the, and I put that picture in here. So, but anyway, once I started getting to the back, I don't know if the paper went bad or what, but the colors got very dull on it. They're not bright anymore. Even this was acrylic and still very dull compared to what another book would look like. Same thing here with the watercolor, very dull, not very bright at all. This one was a video that I did, and it's still, again, I love this piece, by the way. This is for sale in the shop. But anyway, that's separate. That's a little self-promotion, a little shameless self-promotion. But anyway, this piece here, it looks a little bit dull on the paper. I still love it. I love this piece. But it just looks a little bit dull on that paper until I hit the gouache. When I put gouache on here, it got really bright. And that was fine. But I didn't do a whole lot more in this book. That was it. And so I have a couple pages left in this and just put it down, never picked it up again. I have this one that I have never started because I didn't like it from this point. But when I started this one, I loved it so much I bought a second one. And then I just never even finished this one. So now this book is completely empty. And maybe one day I'll do something in it, but it won't be watercolor. Maybe gouache or something like that, but it won't be watercolor. Okay, talking about books that I've never started, this is one that I put together. This is one that I bound myself. Same thing, spray painted the cover. This was from the Canson art board. and I just cut it and spray painted it, punched the holes in it, put the comb on it. I think I did this one the right way. Yes, I did. So you have to put the comb at the back of the book, and that way it doesn't come through. So when you're moving it around, anyway, it doesn't pop out. So this has sanded paper in it. This has the Art Fix sanded paper in it. Absolutely loved this paper. I did so many colored pencils and pastel pencils on this paper. So I said, oh, I'm going to make a book for myself. And I made all the different colors of the oh, I did have one in there. Hold on there. There's one. That was a recent video, 2024. So I did use this for one thing, one time, and that's a pastel piece right there. So I think it's pastel. Is that pastel or is that colored pencil? I have no idea. And I don't want to touch it because I like the way it looks. So I'm never going to find out now. That's okay. I think this was the colored pencil piece. I think I did this a colored pencil. Anyway, yes, it was colored pencil because I did the Odos Mineral Spirits on it. Anyway, okay. So this is, you see how it comes out. You can put the light on top of the dark. That's why I like this paper. You can put, like, all the light stuff here was on top of a darker color. You see the light on top of the darker. Over here, the light is on top of the darker color. That's what I like about sanded paper. But it is kind of rough there. So you could sand off your fingerprints real easy if you'd use some pastel pencil and then you rub it on there. There goes your fingerprints. But anyway, there's a couple different colors in here. And I'm going to get to some of it. I just have not. I don't know why. I don't do that very often. I don't reach for those very often, so I don't fill up the book. And I have not even started on most of this book. I just the one piece and that's it. Okay, so this was one of my first books as well. And it was 2015. Started doing some urban sketching. I don't do a lot of that on this channel, but I do enjoy urban sketching. So I started this book doing some of that urban sketching kind of thing. And what is this? This was just a wintry scene with colored pencil. Did some apples. Now this is interesting to me. I wanted to see if I could get the same look using different tools. So I did a polychromos apple, and then I did a Prismacolor apple. And I got basically the same exact result. Same thing over here. I took the Prismacolor water-soluble pencil and took the Derwent Inktense pencil. Basically the same image. It's the same painting. So you can get very similar results if you tune it the right way and you have the same process of how you work through things. You can get very similar results with different things. Anyway, so the reason that I don't use, and I started doing some of this old stuff. So I have some Lucas Aquarelle in here, some Daniel Smith, some Sennelier, just different things. And that's the only Sennelier that I think I've ever used. I don't think I have any other color than this white. I don't know if I've ever used any other color. Maybe I did and I just don't remember. I don't remember owning Sennelier paints, but I guess I had to have because there's one paint right there. It's the titanium white. I don't know. So I did use this for some swatching, which is fine. The paints come off just fine, testing different types of skies with different colors and things like that. The thing that I really did not like about this book is that this feels like there's like a coating on it. It feels like there's some kind of barrier on here. And the water does sit on top for a very long time, so it doesn't dry very quickly. It sits on top for a good while. And by the way, this is the Pentalic Field Book. This is a good book. It's not a bad book. It's just that it's not for me. It doesn't work the way that I want to work. So if you work that way and you like to keep everything wet for a longer period of time and work into it, this may work for you. It is also machined top. So when someone says that, what they mean is it's not a random pattern on top. It's a very defined pattern that just repeats over and over. And I don't like that in paper. It's definitely not something that I enjoy. It almost looks like a canvas style machine on top. But it's watercolor paper. It's just not, I don't think it's cotton. No, it's just pulp paper. But it is 140 pounds. It's not terrible. It's just not, I don't like it anymore. So I didn't finish this book. But for what it was at the time I was using it, it was fine. It worked out just fine for me. Now I'm going to tell you a story. This is a Canson Montval watercolor book. I know a lot of people love this book. Please do not get mad at me for what I am about to say when I talk about this book. Not only is it not my favorite book, I can't stand it. Now, I started putting some color down in it, and the colors come off dull. Compared to every other book that I have, the colors are dull. I don't like that. It's not even a little bit. So I came up with a different use for this book that made me enjoy it. Now I love this book. I just don't paint or draw in it. What I did is I took a lot of my older drawings from, had a lot of loose Strathmore sheets, and I cut them out. This is from when I first came back to art, 2015. That was 2017. This was 2015. But I just started cutting them out and taping them into this book, or pasting them later on, depending on what kind of paper they're made of. If they were made out of very light drawing paper, this one is just cartridge paper. This is like printer paper, this one here. So that one's definitely not going to hold up if I paste it in there. It'll just destroy it. So I had to tape them in there. But some of them I did paste in there. And they were good. They were nice. I enjoyed cutting them out and putting them in here. And this was going to be a book where maybe I was going to start to draw in here. But there's a lot of tape around these, and I can't draw on the tape. So I didn't want to do that. Okay, this is my favorite page in the whole book, and let me tell you why. So this one, and this one are from a book that was one of these Strathmore books, 140 pound. No, maybe they're not 140 pound. I think they are. Yeah, these are 140 pound paper. So these are the 100, and I think these are pasted in here. So this has I take the Liquitex matte medium. That's how I paste everything in everywhere. So yeah, that's what this has here. So what I did was, my wife and I were at she used to do the tile with the vinyl on it, and we are at a show doing this show for this stuff, and we used to do very well with it. Well, what happened was I look off the forecast showed nothing. Everything was clear. Everything was wonderful. What happened was I saw a little cloud start to form up in the corner of the sky, and it was just nothing. Very small, very little, fluffy. It was gray, but it was fluffy. It was not. There's nothing there. All of a sudden, I look up, and the whole half of the sky is covered in this gray cloud all across, and it comes in. The wind starts whipping. We had a little tent thing. We pulled it down to roughly where we could like hold it down. It was probably around our chest height. We pulled it down to, and then we had to hold on for our life as the wind started to take this tent and shake it everywhere. The rain was coming in sideways at us. We were soaked being under the tent. It was ridiculous. Well, I had a book out, and this book had some paintings and drawings in them, and it got absolutely destroyed. However, I was able to save these 3 pieces. That's it. It's the only pieces I could save. I loved that book. It was a great book. It's one of these visual journal books. It was just, I believe it was just the 140 pound paper version. Boy, I want to say that for certain. I don't know. Let me see here. No, I am entirely wrong. This was the mixed media paper. The Strathmore mixed media 90 pound paper. That's what this was. This was not watercolor paper at all. It was mixed media paper. However, I loved working on it. It was a wonderful thing. Like, this piece here was one of my favorites because of the shadows on it, how it came, and I put a lot of extra color into it. It worked great. This is one of my favorite pieces. These 3 here are all my favorite pieces from this book. These are the only things I could save, but at least they were my 3 favorite pieces. They were towards the middle of the book. They didn't really get wet. The rest of it was just garbage. I threw it out. It's terrible that I had to do that, but I did. And so these, I just enjoy these so much. And these are from the Strathmore Blue and Strathmore Gray that are here. So I just stuck them in there to keep the Strathmore theme going. But again, a lot of old I started in 2015. This is one of my first drawings in 2015 where I wanted to do something here. Same thing with these here. These are all 2015 when I first got back into art and I started drawing again. Only pencil, different shades of pencil and things. That's all that was. Did a bunch of that. So And I pasted some other things in here as I did. These are sample sheets that I had here for watercolor paper I pasted in here. So I just kept doing that. Everything that I had that I needed to paste in here, that's the last thing I pasted in here so far. But that was a Patreon giveaway, I believe. I did a couple of them and sent them to everyone. But I only have a couple pages left in here to paste in, and that's the only reason that I keep this book, is to put those memories in, and that's what this book is. So now I like the book. So I took something that I absolutely couldn't stand, and now I like it. That was a long-winded story there, wasn't it? This is one you all saw recently. This is the Light Wish sketchbook, and I left this one in here. I took the other ones out. I had a couple more in here that I did. I took them out and stuck them in a book, but I left this in here because I want to be reminded that when I open this book, that the colors reflect brightly. I put multiple layers on here. Everything was smooth, and I really enjoyed using this book. So I do keep this first page in here. I'll fill up this whole thing. Maybe I'll keep the rest of it together. I don't know. But or maybe I'll put the other ones back in here. I may do that. Put them back in here and then just continue and fill up the book. But definitely a great travel book. I already mentioned that when I reviewed the video. Very sturdy. The faux leather. It's thick as anything. It has the canvas on the outside that's thick. I enjoy this book. I think it's a great travel accessory. Has the little flaps. I said over here, you don't put your license in here or anything. Just put the little color chart of the paint that you're using right there, so you can see everything as you're painting, and it keeps it for you from splashing any water on it because there's plastic here. And this is all leather. It's not real leather. I think it's fake leather. It's a faux leather, but it's nice. It's nice. It has a pen holder here. I didn't notice that until later, but it does have a single pen holder here. I usually throw something in here like a water brush or whatever, and I put my little palette right in here so it sticks in here. It's very convenient to have this as like a walk around. So this is another book that I didn't know that I loved until I ran out of the sheets in here, and I kept going to grab for it, and I didn't have it available. It was full. So it doesn't really have much in here. There was a little bit of a gouache painting there. What I did was I tried to do something with, Bob Ross used to take the liquid white, and he used to put that down and then do the oil paint over it, and it would blend really smoothly. Well, that's kind of what I tried to do here. I took white gouache and I covered. This was zinc white gouache. This is titanium white gouache, but I didn't do this. Once I saw how this worked, I enjoyed it, so that's what I stuck with. But this is I have white gouache all under here, and then I went over and watercolored. This is watercolor on top of here, not gouache, watercolor. It just blended with the white gouache under it. But then I did a bunch of other things. A lot of this is swatching, or I did videos where I was talking about certain things, doing color theory, talking about picking palettes, and not much else going on here. Just a lot of color testing, doing videos, doing the wash, then the line, then the line, then the wash, and see if the difference comes out. And just different things like that, and that's all I did. So there's a couple things in here I think I already took out. I ripped these out here. This was something was in here, and I ripped this out and put it in a book already because I wanted to save it. Most of this I do not want to save. I just kept it for this video, and I'm not going to keep most of this. This is probably just going to be dumped, but that's okay. There's some memories in here. Maybe I'll keep it. I don't know. And this is the current version of that book that I'm using now. And I'm no longer just using, I did that here. I did a whole nother thing here, color theory thing here, but I'm actually using it a little bit more now. I'm putting in a little bit more effort into using the paper. I love this paper. So it's very easy to use. It's thick watercolor paper. You can put a lot of water. I drenched this piece here and then put in color while it was still wet, all in here. And I believe this was one of the, don't quote me on it, but I think this was like a White Nights thing where I just did the thing. Oh, Dark Days. Sorry, Dark Days. I'm going to be strung up by my toenails. But anyway, it was good. It was a good. Oh yeah, and I did one of these. Yep, this is another video that I had done with the folk art. Enjoyed that, and I think I maybe have one more in here. Where is it? Yes, and then I did this one in here. But I really do enjoy working in this book. I don't grab for it a lot, but when I do want to use it, I want it to be on my shelf. So that's where it sits. That's on my shelf current use shelf. That's where this thing goes. So I apologize. This is going to be a long video. I apologize if you don't want to watch it, but I want to talk about it, so let's do this. This is one from a while ago. So again, this is one that I made. This is with the Strathmore Heavyweight mixed media paper. So this is very heavy paper. This is like almost like a board. That's what this is, almost a board. So it is mixed media paper. There were a couple of issues with this paper when I got this set. Some of the pages worked absolutely fine, but some had these little dots that would show up on them. I'm not really sure what that was. It was just a strange thing, but most of it worked very good. I do have a full flip through of this book down there somewhere through the playlist of sketchbooks. Absolutely love this paper. Wonderful paper to work on. Some of my favorite drawings that I did, they came off very soft and nice and natural. Wonderful. Absolutely some of my favorite stuff that I did here. So I highly recommend this paper, and if you put it into a book, it's great. This is, I love the sky in this piece here. It was just like one of those California homes or whatever. No, Arizona homes. It was an Arizona home here that looked like, and I had to, it was just nice. I enjoyed doing that. And I did this, I think, I don't remember. This was one of the first videos that I did on the channel where I painted. It goes back years. The 2019, you look that up, this should be on there, I believe. But, and I love this painting. It's wonderful. But I enjoy this book. I'll keep it, and I'll probably get another pad of that paper, make another book with it, because I really did like it. It was a great paper, even though it's mixed media. We'll talk about that later. But mixed media, it's a little bit smoother than the cold press. But I've also seen mixed media paper that's more textured, like the Canson XL books that I had over there. But it doesn't matter. I don't know what the difference is. No one really knows what the difference is. Just so you know, no one knows what the difference is between mixed media paper and watercolor paper. People say, oh, it's thicker. No, this is thicker than any watercolor paper I've ever used. And then you say, oh no, well maybe it's because of the texture. Nope, I've had mixed media paper that's rougher or just as rough as cold press watercolor paper, and I have watercolor paper that's smoother than Bristol. It's just the hot press stuff. That's so. What is the difference? Oh, the sizing's different. Nope, I have watercolor paper that is only surface sized or only internally sized or both. And same thing for mixed media paper. Some of it is surface sized, some of it is internally sized, and some of it is both. So that's not it. You can say, oh well, it's designed for how. How is it designed for watercolor, but the mixed media paper is designed for everything? It doesn't, I'm telling you, there's no difference. It's just marketing. That's all it is. Don't let anybody ever tell you any different. It's just marketing. Someone says, I'm a mixed media artist, so they buy mixed media paper. Other people say, I'm a watercolorist, so they buy watercolor paper. Most of the time, you can find the exact properties of that paper in a different brand labeled as something different. I've looked. I've done this test 100 times, and every time I've been able to do that. So anyway, except for the rough, I was going to say, except for the rough, until Canson mixed media paper came out with a rough surface. So now they have rough paper. Don't worry about it. It's the same thing. Okay, we have another book that I made myself here. This is from 22 to 23. And did a lot of paintings in this. What kind of paper is in here? Oh, come on. Where are you? Okay, so this is the Canson Heritage Cold Press, Hot Press watercolor paper. Canson Heritage Hot Press. Great paper. I loved working on this paper. Again, I think some of the colors, I don't know. I may have used colors that were more muted, but some of the colors seem to sink into the paper and not be very vibrant. It's just... I don't think anything's wrong with the paper. It's just that's what happens. Sometimes that happens with watercolor paper. Sometimes the color seeps in and doesn't sit on top and look bright, so it looks a little bit more muted. I still love the pieces that I put in here. The paper acts wonderfully, and I'm able to use the techniques that I want to use on the paper without any issues. It's just that they look a little duller. Okay, and I think this is the last one that I've made. This is a fluid, so this has 3 different papers in it. let me see where the break is here. Okay, so this book has 3 different papers in it. It has the Fluid 100 hot press, then it has the Stonehenge Aqua hot press, and then it has an Arches hot press, and there's paper behind each one of them. I just separated the book by 3, and so first thing I ever do whenever I get a new kind of paper that I want to test out is I do a little birch tree sketch here, a little line and wash birch tree. So I did it for each of them just to see the different properties of them. I don't know if I did it for the arches because I've used arches for so long. I don't know if I actually put that on there. Let me see if I did that. No, I did not do arch. There's only a couple pieces for arches, but I did that between, and this is what I noticed, between the Stonehenge and between the Fluid. The Fluid, the paper would, the paint would sit there. So you can see a lot of harder lines in there, and you can see when you swiped over the top of it, it didn't disturb what was under it. So it basically held on to that paint and didn't move. So this is something, if you're a glazer and you like to glaze, this is great paper. There's a woman, Liz Harper. Liz Harper is a great botanical artist, and she uses this paper. She used to use the Fabriano, but they changed the formula. Now it doesn't work the way she wants. But this Fluid hot press 100% cotton watercolor paper she uses because she likes to put down the details first with her paint and then wash over the top when she does like a leaf. She'll put in all the veins in the darker color, whatever, and then wash over the top with the lighter color. And when she does that, the underneath does not move. It holds on to this in this page, so it doesn't lift a lot. But for what she does, it works perfectly. Whereas for the Stonehenge Aqua, when I look at that one, where's that page there? When I did that one, I was able to blend very nicely. So this blue on here, this blue sky, I didn't do a wash and then paint it. I actually just did it as watercolor as I went, and no hard edges. You don't see any streaks. On this one, you see a lot of streaks. There's some hard edges. There's a couple of back runs because this was holding on to the paint. This one, I was able to move the paint all over the place. You can see a lot less hard lines in the trunk here, where this one has a lot of hard edges because the paint just sticks in place where you put it. So that's something that I enjoy doing, is mixing papers and testing them out different ways and seeing what they do. All of these that are finished are in a description where you have sketchbooks, and I do flip throughs, so you can go check that out on the channel. I'm bringing this up. So this is the small one that I actually I won from Marty from Owings Art. I got this 2016 and started doing some drawings and little doodles and things like that. Did a colored pencil piece, the whole thing. And it's a little bit too small for me. I tried to do some watercolor paintings in it. And I will tell you this, though. This paper held on to, yeah, buckled on the back, but there's a lot of paper that does that. This paper is not watercolor paper. It's not mixed media paper. It just says that it's acid-free paper, I believe. Yeah, that's all it says, acid-free paper, 74-pound acid-free paper, so it's not meant to be any kind of watercolor paper or anything. But it held on to it, and the colors are fairly bright. I was very shocked when I used the watercolor on this. So if you like these miniature lunatic sketchbooks, let's see, this is a 4x3 sketchbook. If you enjoy that, go for it. It actually held up really well with anything that I put on it. So I definitely recommend it if that's what you like, something that small. This is the smallest I will go, and I will now move on to my Stillman and Burn series of this video. Section of this video. So this is my travel sketchbook, and a lot of you say, how small do you go? This is as small as I go usually. It's 3.5 by 5.5 inches. It's the Nova Series Gray from Stillman and Burn. I love this book. And some of the times I just paint in, I just tape in something that I drew on another piece of paper, and I just tape it here. This is from July 2018, so I've had this for a very long time. I don't pick it up a lot because I have other books that I pick up. But, and I'll either do one side and paint that way, but I usually leave these for things that I'm going to maybe tape in there. You'll see here in a second. So I paste little things out. There's a little post-it note, and I just drew with some. Now this is drawing. This is not painting. Painting is different. Painting, I need something a little bit more. But when I just do some drawing, I can use something small for drawing, especially the gray, because I like to put the white in. Or I'll put a yellow post-it in there and draw on that. Or this is a piece of notebook paper that I drew in and put that in there. So I really do enjoy this book a lot. And I do pick it up when I can. But I also do some spreads with it, because when I open it up, I now have a 7 by 5.5. So that's good for me. That's a nice big wide area. But for drawing, I can do, there's a nice spread. But there's one of my favorite drawings in this whole book, is that spread there. But and I like putting the white in. That's why I like the gray books. I like having the dark and then the gray mid-tone and then the white outlines. It just pops a little bit. I like doing that. So and I did this one. I happened to do that. I was doing a neurographic test, and I did some painting. I did some more painting in here, but again, across both pages. That's okay. I don't mind doing that. That's colored pencil. That's not paint. Here's painting, and I did a double spread here. Just tried to make it a little bit more cohesive. So I enjoy doing that. Again, that's a marker drawing there. I'll go through some other things of this, but the colors. This is what I wanted to get to. So the watercolor here, you can see this still comes off bright. It's just a little bit toned down because it's on the gray paper. So the light goes through it and bounces back, and doesn't bounce back as much white. So it looks a little bit duller. But the colors are still the same colors. They come through pretty well. And I think this is about it for me. Yeah, so that was about it for me. I have a lot more of this book to go, and I'm going to finish this up and then go back to the beginning here and paste some of these other things in here, because I like to do that. This is my work carry. I put this in my work bag, and that's what I have. And I have a little thing of pens, black and white pens, some markers, some paint markers, black and white paint markers from Posca, and that's what I use here in this book. Okay, I might as well stick with the Stillman and Byrne series. So this is the beta book. Now the beta book is it's interesting, but it's interesting. It's definitely a lot more texture to it. But this is older. So this is from 2000. When did I get this? 2016, January 2016. I had just got back into art in 2015 and started doing a little bit more with colors and things like that. Not really understanding much of anything that I was doing. I did some more of the urban sketching stuff. But the paper, you can see when you try and do a big wash, it's not good for that. This is not the book. If that's what you're looking to do, that's not what you want to do in this book. You want to do individual pieces. So let me see, something like this is fine. An individual piece here, or let me see, I did a couple others. See, an individual piece here. You can do that, but once you get into the big wash, this book is not for that. It's not meant for that. Even this is just streaks everywhere, all over the place, which I was just adding some color to the background of the bird, but it's still, I would just not recommend doing that. It's just, this is very streaky, and there's back runs all through here, and it's not good. It's not very nice. Now this was the Derwent pencils, I believe, the Graphitint pencils, and there could be a mix of Graphitint and Inktense in this one, but when you do that, even still, some of that does not dissolve. So you have to make sure that that's what you know is going to happen. And what I did was just put it a little bit heavier in those areas, so you didn't see the graininess that was there, and just kind of put that. But when you do something big like this, a lot of different colors and you're adding texture, that's one thing. But it just, if you're doing like solid washes and trying to go back into it, you will get the runs and things like that. It's not that great. Individual subjects, that's what this book is for, and that's how I would use this book. Okay, so here's another. This is a Zeta book. 2016 is when I started this one. Little bit there, and then I'm just covering my information. Anyway, I don't know why I started doing that in the beginning, but anyway, 2016 is when I started this book too. I got it at the same time I got the other book, and so I just started using them together. And this book is smooth, so I did something a little bit more realistic with pencil because I can get very smooth gradients with the gray and but then once again, it's not for large areas. It doesn't work well. This is not cotton paper. So you want to do ink, you want to do a subject, that's fine. The subject works fine. But once you start doing, I don't know, where did I do, yeah, so you start looking at this wash here. This was a kind of like a characterized version of a Rembrandt painting. I love Rembrandt paintings. I look at Rembrandt all the time, and someone told me that Rembrandt was copying someone else. I don't care. That's fine. The stuff that Rembrandt did was beautiful. So I tried to do like the light and shadow thing, but once you start doing these washes, streakiness and nothing comes out smooth. And this was something that I actually put the water down and then put the paint into, and I still couldn't get it smooth. It just doesn't work that way. And these will break apart with the wet into wet. However, if you ask me if I love these books, I will tell you yes 100 times over. I love Stillman and Bird books. Don't listen to me. When I talk about Stillman and Bird books and how good they are, don't listen to me because I am completely biased. This one and the other one were my two first professional watercolor books that I felt were professional because they had a hard cover. But there's a lot here. And I've done the flip-throughs of all of these. Again, the washes, not good. They look terrible. Subjects look great. Subjects looks fine. But, yeah, there's a lot in here, and I'm just not going to go through it all. But anyway, this... Oh, let me get to the back here, because this was actually interesting. Where is it? Did I just... Oh, here it is. Okay, I went past it twice. This is what the Crafters, the book that I am writing and still writing and just have not... I put it to the side, and it's finished. It's done being written. I just have to go about all the publishing of it. Anyway, this drawing right here was based on that... the story was based on this one piece right here from 2020. I did this and I said, there's a story there, and I wanted to figure something out. So I wrote a whole story about it. You'll see. It's one day it'll come out, I'm sure. But at the end, I started to do more ink drawings and things, and I love this. Is one of my favorites from the whole book. Absolutely love that piece right there. It's one of my favorite drawings I've ever done. I might as well go through the rest of my Stillman and Bird since that's what I'm doing or seem to be doing. I have this. This is on my current shelf. This is a current book here, and this is a Stillman and Bird Nova series. So it has the gray paper, and then it has, come on, this is the Nova Trio, and then it has this black paper here that you can do some gouache on, and then it has this tan colored paper here, and the tone colored paper is just something that I really enjoy. I think it's nice. I thoroughly enjoy this paper. It's thin. It's not very thick. What is it? 150 GSM. What is that? Like 90-pound paper or something like that. It's not very thick, but it's good. I really thoroughly enjoy it. It's a good book. One of my favorites. And so this paper is basically, if you know any of the Stillman and Bird stuff, this is the Alpha series book. It's just toned. So I said, you know what? I enjoy this so much. And my voice is starting to go a little bit. Anyway, so I took that Alpha paper, speaking of, and I went ahead and bought one of these books. This is the Alpha series paper. And yes, 150 GSM. Let me look that up real quick. What is that? I don't know what it is. I just went and looked up on Google, but something is up with those new AI answers. They're always wrong. Don't ever, if you Google something, don't listen to the AI answers. Always wrong. They just scan text, pull it, and give you an answer, and it's not even what you're asking for. Anyway, the 150 GSM is about 100-pound paper, 110, depends on who you ask, but I'm saying it's about 100-pound paper is what I'm saying. So it's not entirely, it doesn't feel like 100-pound paper. It feels like 90-pound paper or something like that. But that's what they say it is. So what I'm doing with this is I'm holding, okay. The idea behind this was I wanted to look at composition, and this stays down in the living room with my Dark Days paints, and that's what they stay right on top of this book. And that's what I use down there. Whenever I want to grab it and go outside and sit on the porch and paint, I grab this. or something else, because I have the other one. The gray one is there, and then I have another one that I also have down. But anyway, um, this one here, and I hold myself accountable in this book because I write the date on the day that I start painting in here. So this one was started in February. I did not get very far, and I do little double spreads, and it's all about composition. I just want to do whatever the composition is all I'm looking to do. February I did quite a bit in here, and then there's another February. Then I went to March, one of my favorite paintings in this whole book. I love how that came out. I love how this whole thing looks. This one isn't bad. This is now in September. So went from February to March to September. I have not picked this book up again since then because I've been doing other things. But I have to do this a little bit more. And I just write little notes to myself, whatever I'm thinking at the time. And that's it. So this book stays down there. I love the book. And this paper is thin. It buckles on both sides as you paint across the sides. It'll buckle and all that stuff, and I don't care. It's just there for composition. But look how bright the colors are that come off on it. So definitely one of my favorite books. I just like the Stillman. I told you, don't listen to me. You're going to get this book. You're going to put a ton of water on it and do wet into wet and all this other stuff, and it's going to look terrible, and you're going to blame me. Don't blame me. Even though I think I did some, yeah, so and you're gonna get this again. This is not 100% cotton watercolor paper. It's regular pulp paper, so you get these little swirls and lines and things in the paint. I don't care. It's not what I'm doing. And some of this was wet into wet. Some of this stuff was a little bit wet into wet, and it does okay with some stuff. This was something completely different. This was when I had the Rosa Gallery down in the living room, and I did this one, but most of the rest of these are the dark days, and this is a Daniel Smith here. I put the colors here: cobalt blue from Core, benzo yellow from Core, jadeite genuine Daniel Smith. So I had a little palette there, but this is all wet into wet here. All of this is wet into wet, and it held up just fine. The paper doesn't pill. It's smooth. It's fine. But you're gonna get it and say, Pete, what are you doing to me? I trusted you that this was going to be a good book. That's why I'm telling you, do not listen to me with Stillman and Byrne. I love their products. I love their books. And I use them the way that they work best for me. I don't say, oh, I want to do this in here, but the paper can't handle it. I say, what can the paper handle? And that's what I'll do in it. That's an important thing you should do with all of your art supplies. What can it do? And that's what I'm going to do. If I don't want to do that, I'm not going to use that supply. I'm not going to use it the way that it's not supposed to be used and then complain about it and tell everyone how terrible it is. That's not what I'm going to do, except for the Canson Ball paper. That's terrible. Okay, I have two more of the Stillman and Byrne books because I love their stuff so much. So, and I started listing the things that I had in this book. But there's some, I use gouache in here a lot when I started this book. So this is a gray. I love this gray book because it's a nice neutral gray. It's not too cool. It's not too warm. It's not, if you put warm colors on it, it looks like a warm gray. And if you put cooler colors on it, it looks like a cool gray. It's just how it is. So, but I love this book. It's definitely one of my favorite books. Again, thin paper. It's the same thing. It's thin paper. It buckles after you paint on it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. That's as far as I've gone with this book. That's it. I have a lot more to go, and I have those other books that are also toned, so I'm going to be using these quite a bit. My last Stillman and Byrne is a 9x12 Zeta series, smooth as can be. And one of the first ones that I started with back in 2015 when I was starting to do this, had no idea what I was doing, and realized very quickly that these big washes are terrible in these books. Don't ever do them. They're not what this book is supposed to be used for. You can see how splotchy in the back runs, and nothing is even, and oh goodness, it's just terrible for that. So you don't do that. See this again, I did it all over here. Terrible stuff here. It's just horrible. Even though I love this piece, one of my favorites that I did, but the background just is terrible. But if you do a subject, it looks fine. Just do the subject, leave the background out of it. You don't need to have the background. It's fine. That was a terrible, I started to do this, I stopped halfway, I'm like, I don't even like this. Because I kept doing the washes and it came out terrible. So I just didn't even finish that piece. I left no detail in there, anyway. Then I did some marker, some watercolor marker, not watercolor marker. This is the Faber-Castell water-based pigment ink. And that works really well in here. Anyway, I just kept going with it. I have, let me see. Oh, I even took some pages and gessoed them with, and this is that sanded pastel fix paper stuff in here. So I could do some things in here. I have a couple of pages that are like that. These are a little bit smoother because I sanded them after to make it a little bit smoother to see the contrast between that. But I've done a couple things in here on the channel. This one was one that was done on the channel here in this year. So I like these books, and I have a lot more to go on this one, so it'll take a long time to do that. That's okay. So all the rest of those Stillman and Birn books, except for the first two you saw, are on my current use shelf over there. So let me get into some other books that are not Stillman and Birn. That way you don't have to look at that anymore. Okay, so this is an Etcher hot press book. Love this book. Okay, so started this in 2020, finished it in 21. One of the fastest books I've ever finished in my life. So, and absolutely loved it. It's a great book. The paper is a little soft. So the hot press paper, little soft. If you dig into this, if you start going at it with a pen, easily to scratch this paper. But I loved it. I thought it was a wonderful thing. All these books that are finished have flip throughs. Did I already mention that? Well, they definitely do. You can go look in the description and you can see all the flip throughs. But anyway, I love this book. I thought it was a great book to use. I didn't have a lot of pieces in here that I really liked. There were some good ones. I have a couple ones in here that I did like. But most of them were a little strange. That's okay. It's wonderful. This one, and then this one, and then this one here were a part of a story that were found in the other book, in that Stillman and Birn book. But that's okay. I like that piece. I did like that piece, and I love this. This side right here is one of my favorite pieces in this book. But a lot of them, oh, I like this piece too. This is the difference. Abstract doodle. Yup, this is what an abstract doodle looks like. This is what automatic painting and drawing looks like. Do they look the same? No, because they're not. Those are not the same thing. Doodles are not the same thing as automatic drawings. And automatic drawings are not doodles. That's not the same thing. I will defend that to the end. I will die on that hill. But I did a lot of different things with the iridescent inks in here. And not iridescent, but the ones that, well, I guess they are iridescent. Yeah, you move them a little bit and they shimmer a little bit. But there's not like a shimmer. It's just that they draw one color, and then when you catch the light, if you concentrate it a little bit more, it changes to a different color. So this was a green ink that turned red if you concentrated it. It's beautiful. Wonderful thing there. I think that was the Aurora Borealis, maybe. Or it could be something different. I don't know. But this is definitely from Diamine. I think that was the one from Diamine. But it could be something different. I don't remember exactly. But all wonderful, and I enjoyed them thoroughly. Definitely a great book to invest in if you like to use hot press paper, hot press watercolor paper with any kind of line and wash kind of thing. This is a good book for that. Now we have our cold press book, which started in 2019 to 22. And started off using this and didn't really know what to do with it. But I will tell you, this is one of my favorite papers to use. I know it's probably someone else. Every time I get a book and I say, oh, I like this paper, someone says, oh, that's probably Bao Hong makes that paper for them. Oh, really? That's what happens? So the same thing with the Meadens. Bao Hong makes that for them. But I don't think this is anything like the Meaden. These papers are entirely different patterns on them. They're not even close to the same thing. So if Bao Hong makes this, then I don't see how Bao Hong makes this. But that's what people say. Every time you say, oh, yeah, I like the Meaden watercolor. Oh, yeah, Bao Hong makes that. Oh, I like the Etcher. Oh, yeah, Bao Hong makes that. I don't think they make everything. They may make a lot of things, but not everything. Anyway, the Etcher cold press book one of my favorite textures in a watercolor book ever. It's very rough. It spreads the color very evenly and smoothly. It doesn't, there's no hard lines, hard edges. It works beautifully. I love these books. Matter of fact, I'm getting another one of these books soon. So, but I have the full flip through of everything that I did in here. Some colors, some different things. The colors come out very bright and vibrant. Everything looks wonderful. And I was very happy with this book. So, highly recommended. One of my favorite watercolor books ever that I've ever bought. And better than the, what I imagine, the Etcher, what is it, the Perfect Sketchbook. I'm not a big fan of Fabriano paper, so that doesn't do anything for me. I would much rather have one of these. Okay, only a few more on my current use shelf. We're doing pretty good here. So this is the Crescent Render book. I started this in 2020. I have not gone that far with it because I only put marker in here. Do not put watercolor in this book. I know it says it. What does it say? It says you can use spray paint. It says 110 pound paper. It doesn't feel that way. It feels like, this feels like 40 pound paper or something like that. It's like, just like drawing paper. But it says 110 pound. That's because it's stuffed with plastic. I believe that there's pulp paper on one side, and then there's like some kind of plastic sheet in between that, and then pulp paper on the other side. I believe, don't quote me on that, but I think that's how they do this, so you can put alcohol marker on 40 pound paper and still have it not come through. But because of that extra weight, it's 110 pound paper. Anyway, and this is giving me the exchange of 110 pound paper is 180 GSM. So maybe that 160 was more like 90 pound. I don't know. I couldn't get a straight answer out of Google to save its life. Okay, but anyway, it's talking about spray paint, marker, pastel, pencil, watercolor, and fine liners. I would not use all that in this book. Anything wet, I would not use. Watercolor, definitely not. Ink, yes. Ink, paper, or ink markers come out beautifully on here. You can. There's so much black on here. I dumped the black alcohol markers all over this. Nothing came through. It's wonderful. The only thing that you'll see is a little smudge here, but that was because this was wet and I touched it. It takes time for this ink to dry on this page. If you write on it, you have to let it dry for a while before you touch it at all. But anyway, great to use ink on this thing. I haven't used it for very much, but because I don't like to do all the markers, all the alcohol markers. You guys hate that stuff, so I don't do a whole lot of it in here. But when I do, it works out fine. There's nothing wrong with it, and I do enjoy using it. It comes out very smooth, very, very smooth. I've never seen alcohol markers come off so smooth as they do on this paper. You can use them on other papers, and they come out kind of streaky sometimes if you don't do it right. This one, you can be sloppy as anything, and it comes out wonderfully well. The gradient in here is so smooth. In here, smooth. This is multiple colors, so that's, and I tried to get like a dry brush effect, so that's why you can see the swing of the pen here. But and this was also, I think this was watercolor marker too. I'm not sure, but it might be watercolor marker. I'm not sure. This is regular. It just, all the colors are bright and vibrant. It's wonderful. If you like markers, highly recommend a Crescent Render book. This is the 8x8 book, and it's a wonderful size for me. I enjoy it. Only 3 more to go. This was gifted to me. Because it's so special to me, I never use it, and I hate that I never use it. Christy Biddleson over at, and I forget, keeps changing the name of her channel, and she doesn't post much on there anymore, but she is on Facebook sometimes, I think. I don't know. I'm not really ever on Facebook. She used to be. But anyway, she did this, made this cover. It's a fabric cover, but she stamped a bunch of stuff on it and made it look nice, put metal corners on it. Absolutely beautiful. Bound it herself. It's a glue binding. It's not a, I don't think there's any actual, I don't think there's any paper or regular binding on it. I think it's just all glue binding. But she did it wonderfully. It worked very well. And I have a couple of things in here that I've done. Not a whole lot. I want to use more, but I don't want to put the wrong stuff in it because it's a very precious book to me. Thank you so much, Christy, for putting this in here and sending this to me. You can see the bound over here, and then this is the part of the cover that's all. It's just a beautiful book. I absolutely love it. And it had the Fluid 100. Yeah, I think that's what she used. Yeah, she used the Fluid 100 hot press watercolor paper. That's what the paper is in here, which is why I like it. And you can see how smooth it did get. Much smoother. If you add a lot of water, it'll be a lot smoother. If you just tried to paint this in one at a time, like a little area at a time, it would be more splotchy. So with that paper, you have to soak the area, then put in your swatch of color, and it works just fine like that. And it also does, there's some markers here, Tombow, I think these are the Tombow watercolor markers, and they're very bright and vibrant, and they pop off this page. Absolutely wonderful. And these are the graphitin, so they dull down a little bit, and but that's the kind of paint that they are. So it just works very well. I love this paper. So okay, finally, I think we're at the end, and I have this book here. This is a Hahnemühle. Did I look at the other Hahnemühle? I did not. We're not. This is the second to the last one. So this is a Hahnemühle book. It's the toned gray book, but it's not too gray. So you can see if you put this next to, let me show you next to a bright white. If you put it next to bright white, you can see it looks toned down a little bit. It's gray. It's a very light gray. You can use this as white paper if you wanted to. It's just slightly toned. So this is, for 2021 is when I started this. Very nice to, even though this is pulp paper and not cotton paper on this one, this, you could see some marks on here. It's not a smooth gradient at all. But the thing that I did this for was to see if it would hold up or tear apart, and none of it tore apart. This is layer after layer of paint, and none of it tore up, and it didn't go through. So it's wonderful. This is ink. These are ink drawings. Did a couple of other things in here, and I'll show you. I'm going to go through some of these. I like to go let me show you what I like to do here. So this is, when I do a drawing, one page, very easy to do on this size. When I do the painting, I like to go across the page because I like to make it bigger and not crunch it down so much and put it on one page. Sometimes I do. This one went over just a little bit, and you can't even see. There's white gouache in the background here. You barely see that. This is one that I did something very small and tried to. I was trying to force myself into a small little area here, and I really like how those came out, but they weren't really necessarily 100% my thing. I did the same thing here, but I used a lot more color, wide swatches of color. So this was the folk art. So you're doing sections, just blocks of color, which are easier than trying to do a little detail when you're painting. So but you can see all the streaks and lines in here. Of course you can. It's regular pulp paper. That's what happens. But I do enjoy, this is out looking out my window. Looking out my window, and I see the side of my shed with my bird feeder, and then I have a couple of pieces of fence with a tree sticking up in the back. But anyway, so this is also downstairs sometimes with me on the couch, which is why sometimes I pick up this instead of the others. And I do little things in here. Some things you've seen in videos, and some things you have not done. These are markers, of course, and this is something I never finished. I started to do this, never finished it. I will have to finish it one day, and then I did this one. So you can see the similarity in the shape. Kind of, it kind of went this way. Something came up the middle, and then it went out to the side. Same thing here. It came out here, up the middle, and out the side. But when I started doing this, I just looked at it and said, you know, I'm going to have to come back and finish that. That's not really how I want it to go. So I'm going to change this and make it into something that I want to make it into. And I ended up with this one, which I absolutely love. So I do love this book. I didn't put any white on here. It's not that kind of a gray book where you have to add white to it. It looks just fine, just like this, just toned down slightly. And I love using this book. So I have a lot to go yet with it, though. And I'll probably always have something small like this somewhere. I may get the tan one next to have a small one. But I like this book. And that leads to my main book right now. This is my main watercolor book right now that I use for all of the video, or a lot of videos. And this is, started this in the beginning of 23. It's now the end of 24, and I still haven't finished it yet because I still use all the other books. um, a ton of work in here, and just experimenting with everything that I do and everything that I like and everything that I've started to do and started to like. And there's just a lot of stuff in here. And when it's done, I will go and do a full flip through with all the stuff in here. It's almost done. I'm right like towards the end. There's the mushroom one, and there's the mushroom one into the other one. You saw that one already. So then I have this page, this page, this one, and the end. And so this will be hopefully be done. I tried to finish it before the end of the year. I did not get there, but I will finish it at the beginning of this year. And then I know that I will have some new sketchbooks coming in during the holiday season, and I will get moving on them. I still have plenty to fill up on the shelf, but for right now, this is where I am. I want to finish this one. I'll do a full flip through of it when I'm done, and talk about some of the pieces. I love this book. It is a great book. It is it holds the water very well. If I had to pick, I don't know. Don't hold my feet to the fire on this, but the colors that come off of this are beautiful, and they're bright and vibrant. The texture is a little bit less, so you get a little bit more smoother lines when you draw lines on it. When you write on it, it does better. But I'm very torn with whether I'm going to get another one of these or another one of the Etcher cold press, the Etcher cold press, or one of these. I'm not sure which one I'm going to get next to start working on as my main book. But my goodness, I've had so many great moments in this book. When I started using the core, this is that drawing here. I just absolutely love this book. It's great. It holds up to everything I've thrown at it, and I can't say enough about it. It's just this multiple layers in here. I started blending colors on the page. Wonderful. Everything works wonderful. So I'm so glad that I got to share all of that with you. My voice is absolutely killing me. That was a long time talking, and a lot of it you didn't see because I recorded some and messed it up and didn't realize something was wrong with the camera and the whole thing. So I talked for a long time. I am exhausted. My voice is killing me. Like I said, it hurts. But I just wanted to share that with you. I hope you enjoyed it. I will put links to many of these things down below if I can find them still. I don't know. Not everything is going to be available, I'm sure, but I wanted to share with you everything. I love sketchbooks. They are my favorite thing about art is the paper, the surfaces, the sketchbooks, the pads, I love that stuff. I didn't go through all the pads too. I'm not doing that. But I just wanted to go through my sketchbooks, everything that I've used, what I've done with it, how much I like it or dislike it. And now you know. And whether you cared or not, that's a different story. You would not have watched this video to this point if you didn't care and you had no idea. But I just wanted to do that and share that with you. I hope you have a wonderful new year. I hope you have a wonderful end of this year. And I hope that your next year starts and is wonderful. Thank you so much for all of the support that you've given to the channel. Just watching the videos, commenting like crazy, thumbing up the videos when I didn't deserve it. And you're all wonderful people. I really appreciate you. So what I want to do is give you a thumbs up. I appreciate you very much. You make everything here possible and fun and enjoyable for me. This is my favorite thing to do, is create videos for you and then talk to you once you see them. So you see them, you start writing into me and telling me about things. I love to hear about that kind of stuff. I love talking to you. I love that I get to share this with you, that we can connect over this. It's a wonderful thing. It's just, it's never been available through any other time in history other than the last, I don't know, 10, 20 years, where you can get online, put up a video, you start talking to people, you develop a community. It's a wonderful thing. I absolutely love it. I'm very proud of being a part of this point in history because we can do this kind of thing. Other people are saying they hate this point in history. I'm not saying that at all. I think this is a great time to be alive, especially for an artist. I could not connect with all of you in any other way, in any other form, in any other time in history other than this, and this is wonderful today. So none of that made sense. Don't worry, I'm tired. I just said that. Don't worry about that. And if for some reason you didn't enjoy any of this and you're not watching anymore and you walked away, you can thank these people popping up on the screen here. They pay me to make this content for you. So if you don't like it, you got to take it up with them. They have approved everything that I do. So that's not on me. All right, thumb up the video if you are going to take your sketchbooks and figure out what they're going to be used for, how you can use them the best way possible. No sketchbook you get is garbage. Never happened ever. I told you the one that's the drawing paper, that's going to be a thumbnail book. Told you the one I hated doing watercolor in, that's going to be where I paste some old art in books that I just pop out and I just take, oh yeah, I'm going to put this here. And turn into a book that you love, no matter what the sketchbook is. I've never seen a sketchbook, that's not true. I already showed you a sketchbook that was terrible. Anyway, that's besides the point, that one that I didn't want to use, but I'm repurposing it because I'm going to give it to someone. So if you don't like something, just give it to someone else. Maybe they can figure it out. I don't know. There's very few sketchbooks that I've ever used that I absolutely hated. I had one here, and the other ones just said, yeah, I just didn't like them anymore and stopped in them. But at least I used most of them. There's only a couple of sheets left or something like that. But anyway, let me know down below, what is your favorite sketchbook? If you would like to join our community, go to illustrationsbypete.com. You can come in, you can put your own artwork on the site and promote it. You can find some inspiration in the free reference photos. You can just use them however you want in your artwork. You do not need to credit me. Or you can come into the forums and talk to some people and maybe give some advice and maybe find a little bit of information that helps you. So come check us out. All right, that's about it for me. I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.